Welcome back. Today we're going to take a sail from here, where we've been staying, down here, up here and round here and back down here and all the way to here, and that's called sailing the Kyles of Bute. Well, as soon as the rain goes off, and we waited for it to go off, we thought we'll make an escape now. So we're getting the lines together, everything's under control, the air's alight and the bow's starting to move out, and the nice lady comes for a chat.
Morning.
Good morning.
You alright?
I think we might have it, but you can watch.
I like your jacket. Saw that
Thank
like, dress
you.
from last night.
Oh, did you?
She's a cracker. What is she? A Scandi.
Scan yacht.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a jacket. She's a scan yacht.
Lovely. Oh, we tiller as well.
Oh, you need the tiller.
And you drop the rudder.
Well, we're not dropping it, we're going around the Kyles of Bute.
No, the rudder. She said that's she
Oh,
said
it's
you
a
dropped the rudder.
Oh, that's the wind vane.
Wind vane.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's alright.
Get confused with all this terminology.
Me too.
She's a great wee yacht.
She's lovely. Yeah.
Wales of Bute.
Pardon?
Yeah.
This is the regatta.
No, we've been kicked out before the regatta. The one here.
They're coming in today.
Yeah.
They're coming in later, but you might see them on their way round.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you might do. Yeah.
The little yachts anyway. The big ones might go the long way round.
Yeah.
Are you here for the regatta? Are you?
Well, no, I was in Largs for the regatta.
Ah.
Just watching.
Yeah.
We're,
Camperman.
we're getting out of everywhere just before the regattas start.
Thank you, and you.
The nice lady, Eileen, who we've just been talking to and said goodbye to, and Lisa's still chatting to as we go, takes a photograph of Swallow as she's setting off, and then just as we're getting out the gate, she's already sent it to us and we receive it. It's always nice when you receive a picture of your boat with you on it, because you can't take it yourself. So thanks very much, Eileen, for that. We've got quite a good area here to get the fenders away and the ropes away, but we'll still be doing it when we get out that gate, I'm sure. Lisa keeps telling me, watch where you're going. I don't think she thinks I'm paying any attention to anything. Well, I'll just make sure I can get between those two big posts and I'll be happy. Time to breathe in, Lisa. And we're out into Lower Loch Fyne. We're no sooner out than I've set myself a sail plan up to go with the weather forecast and a little bit more. It's set 3 to 5's the forecast, and I've set it as if I'm sailing in a 6, because I didn't trust the winds. They seem to come off these hills, and if you're given a 5 you get a little bit more or a little bit less. Well, we got a little bit less, but we're still cracking along at nearly 5 knots, so I'm happy. So I'm going to leave them like that to see what the gusts are going to do. Well, we make our way out into the central line of the loch so that we can see what's on offer, and there doesn't seem a great deal of wind at the moment out here, so we could be hiding behind the hills, or we might be just getting more of a 3 than a 5, and certainly not seeing anything like a 6. So I might be a little bit over paranoid, but Swallow's moving, she's making way, and I don't feel like rushing anywhere today, so I might sit on my reduced sail plan for a bit just to see what happens. I hope that's not more rain coming. Well, we're doing 3-6 through the water, 3-3 over the ground. That means we're pushing a little bit of current as we go, but there isn't a great deal of wind, so we're doing all right. 8 knots up the chuff. So I think I've been a little bit paranoid, maybe thinking that I'm going to get increased wind areas and decreased wind areas, and it's just going to be light air sailing. When you look at that, you know, we're flogging in the wind. Well, I think for sanity's sake now, we're going to have to let it all hang out and see if we can get a little bit more of a pace. But I haven't put every single inch of that mainsail out. There's a twist left in it, but just the one for luck. And Porto Verde, incidentally, are just about to start their regatta today, I think, and tomorrow and the day after. And the boats will be pouring in, and we've just seen our first one coming along. Aaron's hiding in the clouds over there. No wind over here. And what's she up to? I don't know, laughing at me through the glass. This chap's going into the wind and looks like he's barely got enough wind to make him move into it. Oh, look what I've seen. Bit of blue sky there. Bit of blue sky up there. It's not all grey round here. There is little bits of blue. Fingers crossed we see a bit more of that. Well, that's our first corner we're coming up to there. That one just a little bit in the distance. And that'll lead us into the West Kyle. And the sticky out bit's called Ardlamont Point. That sticky out bit there. And I can see on the top of the hill there's some Agadine Angus eating some grass. Well, we're still slipping along, but we got no rush. Our pace is okay. We're not breaking any records, but we're doing 3.5 knots through the water. The foresail keeps folding on me. Won't stay up. I've put a couple of turns in the bottom of it. That's not because there's too much wind. That's so it doesn't flog too much, that's all. It hides a little bit behind the main when the wind comes around to port a little. Well, we've still got to get round that corner, and out there's a red buoy somewhere. Can you see it? I can't. Well, the wind changes all the time. It just seems to start filling in a little bit. Speed's picked up a little bit and the sail's staying a bit fuller. Well, don't speak too soon. It empties quickly when you're not looking. I seem to manage to fit quite a bit of junk on the back of this boat. It must look like a gypsy's boat to anyone else. That bright patch there is where sunlight's hitting the deck. Sunlight! I shouldn't get too excited because it only shows its face a couple of times a day. When the little bit of blue lines up with the boat, in comes the sunshine. There it is. The sunshine's twinkling towards me now. Well, we've got a total of about 13 knots of wind up our chuff at the moment. It's giving us a decent pace and we're just about to make our first corner. We're doing 4 knots and we're in no rush. That little buoy there is the safe water buoy, port and buoy, as we turn our first corner into West Kyle. And we say goodbye to Lower Loch Fyne. We're doing a nice 4 knots over the ground and there you go. We're entering West Kyle. The wind has obviously changed direction now. It's on the beam, and the wind on the beam rather than up the chuff picks up our pace a little bit. So Swallow seems to be gathering a little bit of speed, which is good, but we're not in a hurry. It's just good because it feels good. It's just nice because it makes your veins pump a little bit more when you fly a little bit more. We've got everything up now and she feels like she's getting into a little bit of a groove. The sails are set fairly well, if I don't mind saying myself, and we're quite close winded for Swallow, but she's got a nice shape to the sail and she's pulling really well. So this is what it looks like travelling north in West Kyle, and that's Ardlamont Point we just rounded there, to be left in our wake. We've had a lot of very gentle sailing today up to now, and there's me thinking we were going to get wind. Well, the wind that we have been getting has been very usable, and we're quite close for Swallow now. Definitely close hauled. Most things are in quite tightly, and if you look at my little courtesy flag, my St Andrew's flag flying away, she's almost pointing to the bow of the boat, which is pretty good for Swallow. So I hope the wind gets no tighter than this, and it looks like on top of that hill there there's plenty of wind, so I can expect somewhere along here that it's going to pick up a little bit when it finds its way through them hills, and it will. 7 knots of wind's giving us just over 4 through the water, but then the wind's picked up a little bit now and we've got 5 through the water on a close reach, which is pretty damn good. So she's in a good groove and she's slipping along beautifully, making a nice little wake, and we're covering ground into this Kyle, this West Kyle. Lisa's going to give the crabs a pumpkin seed. I'm not sure they'll be happy with that, or at least they're not as happy as I am with that. 5.5 knots through the water into the wind. What's going on? something's happening. I think every day Swallow seems like she's getting a little bit quicker than the day before. I don't know what I'm doing right, but I like it. We've still got 5 knots over the ground, but we're doing a little bit more than that through the water. Well, I just had some really big gusts, so I just reduced the foresail a bit. And then it goes away again. I'm spilling a little bit off the mainsail, expecting a gust to come back. We're still doing over 4 knots and it's emptying itself. So that's a depowered main and still got over 4 knots through the water with a reefed foresail. So there's obviously plenty of wind at the moment. Unfortunately, I just don't know which direction it's going to come from next. It keeps going from 5 knots to 10 knots to 20 knots to 5 knots to 5 knots to 10 knots to 10 knots to 20 knots. And it keeps changing direction. 5 minutes ago, I actually did a full 360, not paying attention, but the wind got the other side of the... Oh, toast. This chap's close hauled going the opposite way to us. We're close hauled going the opposite way to him. Explain that. He looks like he's in a hurry. He's probably going to Portavardi, and he's probably racing with him, his mate. I think this is the little town of Auchenlochen. West Kyle has slightly turned at this point to starboard, and I think it'll take the pressure out of the sail, so we won't be going straight into the wind anymore. Well, there you go. It's reduced our speed down to 4.5 knots, but 4.5 knots is plenty of speed for us through the water. And because of the ever-changing winds, I'll probably sit on the fact that this is enough. I don't mind doing just under 5 knots through the water because the wind keeps changing. Swallow's sat up a little bit now, but she's still in a nice groove. But she's near 5 knots through the water, so I'm not complaining. And we're well reefed. It really is beautiful round here. The scenery is good scenery and the mountains are very high. It does actually remind me of home though. I do think it's very much or very similar feeling to sailing down the Menai Straits. I know the hills aren't as big as the Menai Straits, but the water's got that sort of feel to it. It's a bit like a river that's not a river, if you get me drift, through nice picturesque countryside. They're both like a 3-course meal for the eyeballs. I think this area is called something like Tynenbrug. It's difficult for me to read because of the spelling of it, I think. But there you go, that was my attempt at it. There's plenty of moorings along here. I think they're all just privately owned moorings though. I don't see anything that looks like visitors' berth moorings. And they've got their own boatyard. So they're well to do with everything they need for sailing. In a lovely area to do the sailing. Just ahead of us there's a bit of an anchorage. Well, actually there's anchorages everywhere you look. You can anchor wherever you want round here, and I'm quite sure people do so, and it's a very nice place to anchor. But we're just actually passing through, being tourists. We were thinking about stopping along here, but I think we're just going to carry on because we've got a nice breeze with us. 2 more boats possibly going to Portavardi. I did fancy anchoring in that gap over there between the island and the land, but a chap had told me there's a lot of chains down there now and you'd often get your anchors stuck, so I thought I'd give it a miss. And where that rock sticks out there, that's Bute Point, and we were actually thinking about anchoring at Bute Point, but we've been getting quite a lot of big gusts at the moment here in the 20s, so we thought, well, we might just give that a miss. Not knowing what the ground or the holding's like, it's not an experiment I want to take. I think I would have loved to have seen this place on a sunny day. I reckon it's a completely different world when the sun shines. Where we're looking up there, I think that's Loch Ridden. It goes up so far and comes to a stop, but it's a good anchorage bolt hole, I believe. Bute Point's on our starboard side now, so we're going to anchor right in a minute. There's a red can just in front of us there, which we're going to mosey our way over to, and then there's a green one a bit further down. We want to line them up to make sure we're in the correct line to go around this area. That's the Bute Point anchorage just there, where we could anchor if we wanted to. Well, Lisa's been on the helm while I've been having a good look round. and we've both basically been helping most of the time because we want to keep the boat on a straight line, and with the change in winds we have to be on quicker than the Autowhelm would be on it, and that's how come earlier on we actually done a full circle because neither of us were on the helm and Mr. Autowhelm didn't hold up. We've just noticed when we seen this buoy that we're pushing tide here, pushing quite a bit of tide. And there's not supposed to be any tide here to push, but you can clearly see it slipping off the back of that buoy. Right, we've got a full half a Genoa because it's got a couple of turns in still, because we've still been getting gusts, and we've gotten rid of the mainsail so that the Genoa's not flogging all the time. Now we're doing 4 through the water. I'm sorry, I don't know what they call this narrow bit. I do know the anchorage on the side's called Wreck Bay, which doesn't instill much confidence within me. Well, there's only 2 cans, one red, one green. We've passed the red, so we've got to pass the green now. But we've got a pile of ducks who want to get through in front of us. Who's going to win? Oh, they're turning round. They've chickened out and they're not even chickens. Oops, and I've called them ducks and they're not ducks at all, are they? But that's definitely a green can. And after that there's a cardinal buoy. When we get to the cardinal buoy, it's a north cardinal, so I'll just stay north of it. There is one lobster pot. Oh, one red buoy. There could be a lobster pot to pass as well, but I'm sure we'll get past it. And then we got a dreaded chain ferry or cable ferry, whichever it is. And there she is, and she's just pulling away, which she would be, but that'll do me fine, because if she's just pulling away now, I can slip past the back of her once she hits the land. And there you go, she's hit the land, so I'm going to slide on by, because she'll have to load up before she wants to come back, won't she? Well, I'm still on Genoa. I'm still enjoying my trip now because I'm still on Genoa, because it's a lot easier to handle. The wind does switch side every now and then, in fact every 5 minutes, which means I have to swap the sheets over, but that's better than a boom bouncing round. Just look at that woodwork. That is hard work, that is. Oop, we're being chased by another boat, and he's another motor sailor too. He's not going to catch us. We're sailing south now on East Kyle, slipping down this other side of Bute, and we can see a few more boats making their way towards us. We're probably en route to Portavardi with everybody else. And there's somebody shooting up here with a woggly mainsail. I don't know what type of boat that is. Answers on a postcard, please. And there's somebody who's not coming up on his mainsail, but he's coming up, sailing up. He's enjoying the tack, and he's from France. And I know that because Lisa's just told me. He's got a flag on the back. Lisa's getting some footage for Facebook. That lump of grass is called Strome Point, and round the corner to port on that is Loch Striven or Striven, not sure which way you say it. And on our starboard we've got Elmanish Point. Well, we're nearly at our destination, and we're still moving along quite quickly. We're just our Genoa up, and we haven't got tons and tons of wind, so the water being a slight all the way certainly helps you keep your speed up, because it certainly made a difference to Swallow speed. And look at him go. Well, we're going round the Cardinal, and then around a couple of lobster pots, and then on into Kames Bay. Bit of a boat works on the end there, a couple of big hollow sheds, and a lot of yachts on the hard standing. The marina looks like it's just about to come into view down there. Right at the very end you can see the mast sticking up in the distance, but I'm going to give it a bit of a berth before I go in. The marina's called Port Ballantine. It's about a mile and a half north of Rothstay. Rothstay are crammed and busy because they've got the Fife event on, but we'll walk down when we get there. We come almost nose to wind coming into the harbour, so we've seen about every direction we could possibly see on this little Well, it's not a circumnavigation, but it's the top end circumnavigation of the Isles of Bute, innit? Well, we could squeeze a little bit closer if we wanted to out of it, but I don't think we need to. We're going to let the foresail go now, and then we're going to set ourselves up in order to go in. Lisa's gone for fenders already. She don't even need to be asked. It's quite a small town, but it's next to a big town, so you can provision up if you want to, just down in Rothesay. The marina here is a very easy access marina. You enter on the actual leg that you're going to berth as a visitor, which is always helpful. We spoke to the lady beforehand coming in. She was very nice, and she gave us our berth number, told us where it was, told us which side to fender out, which makes your life very easy. Coming in now, you can see obviously the wall on our port side, and you can see like a training set of piles on our starboard side. Well, obviously wall to port, training piles to starboard, and you go down, and this is the visitor's berth leg on the port side now. So you just count down to where you're supposed to be, and when you get to where you are, turn in and tie up. Well, we were right down at the end, number 3. So there's plenty of water up to the piles, so I go up to the piles and I look for the space, and when I spot it, we just turn in at the last minute. Now there's a bit of wind up our chuff now, so Lisa's going to tie on the stern line first rather than the bow line. Just makes life a bit easier. There it is, it's all on. Bow in, we can tie up, and then we can chill out. Every boat should come fully equipped with their own Lisa. Switch the motor off and we're done. Alright, I'm standing on top of Swallow when the tide's gone out, and I'm giving you a bit of a 360 so you can have a look round. There's a bit of a boat yard up the top there with the marina officers in, and the marina's quite full of motor sailors, which surprises me. Hey, they're catching on after all. I think those piles indicate a dredged area.